Greetings, students. My name is Harriet Beecher Stowe. I heard through the grapevine that you were learning about important historical figures from the Civil War, and I just knew that I have some things that you may be interested in hearing about. Now, come close. The things that I'm going to tell you are incredibly important, and I need you to listen very, very carefully. I can't speak too loudly. I can't risk anyone that might be dissatisfied with the things that I've done hearing me, and, well, it wouldn't be pretty. There are some ruthless people that view those who are abolitionists and speak against slavery like me as threats to their lifestyle. So let's make these few moments that I have with you count. I was born on June 14th, 1811 in Litchfield, Connecticut to a famous family. My father, Reverend Lyman Beecher, was a clergyman, or what you all call today a preacher or pastor. He was best known for teaching sermons against slavery in response to the Missouri Compromise. He taught me, as well as my other 12 siblings, to be dedicated, self-sufficient, and curious. Our father's approach to bringing us up was successful. My siblings and I were each accomplished, some of us in similar ways and some of us differently than the rest. We were scholars, teachers, ministers, abolitionists, authors, suffragettes, sailors, and traders. Oh, but you're not here to hear about them, though. So let's discuss some important things that you should know about me, Harriet Beecher Stowe. Between the years 1824 and 1827, I attended and taught at a school that my sister Catherine founded. In 1832, I moved with my father and sister Catherine to Cincinnati, Ohio. There, my sister founded yet another school, and you guessed it, I taught there as well. I also took part in many literary and school activities that allowed me to practice my writing skills. Some years later, being able to practice those skills would truly come in handy. You see, my home in Cincinnati, which was an anti-slavery community, was right next to Kentucky, which was still a state where slavery was legal. The only thing separating us from them was the Ohio River. At the time, which I'm sure you're all learning about, the only way many slaves could escape their horrible and unimaginable living conditions was to run away, be freed, or to purchase their own freedom. The chance of being freed by an owner was slim to none. Purchasing freedom was an extremely expensive task, and unfortunately, there were many rules and requirements that had to be met, which were designed to keep the slaves from being able to do it easily. The only chance at freedom that there was even a slight possibility of achieving was through running away. For many, they accomplished this by traveling through the Underground Railroad. It just so happens that for people to escape through the Underground Railroad, they had to travel right through Cincinnati, where I lived. This gave me the opportunity to meet many of them and hear about their very sad lives in slavery. During this time, an awful law was passed, which was called the Fugitive Act. This act stated that it was legal to hunt, capture, and return slaves back to their owners, even in states where slavery was illegal. Because of this law, personally hearing those stories from the slaves themselves and suffering some tragedies of my own, I was inspired to write a very famous book. I called it Uncle Tom's Cabin. Uncle Tom's Cabin is a story about a very kind and brave man named Tom who was taken away from his family and sold into slavery. After being bought by a slave owner, he was able to save the owner's daughter, Eva, from drowning. Eva and Tom became great friends. The book goes on to tell more stories about Tom's life, and it sheds some much-needed light on slavery, which hadn't ever happened before. It forced individuals who felt that slavery was okay to really think about the sad and scary lives it was causing the slaves to endure. For many people, reading about and connecting with Tom, who represented an entire group of people that they had never listened to before, was a tough pill to swallow. They realized all of the harm that allowing slavery caused, and they changed their minds. For the other people who still felt like slavery was okay, the book made them feel like I wrote a story that made them look way worse than they actually were. And while we now know that that isn't true, most of the people in the South really believed it. And instead of changing their outlook on slavery, they outlawed my book. You heard me right. They outlawed my book in many areas in the South. But that's okay. Even though Uncle Tom's Cabin wasn't accepted in the South, it was a conversation starter and a game changer in many other places. In the first year it was out, it sold 300,000 copies in the United States and over 1 million copies in Britain. After writing Uncle Tom's Cabin, I was widely known as an abolitionist. I went on tour around the United States and told thousands of people about all of the reasons why slavery should be made illegal. Because I was so brave and spoke out against slavery in a way that so many others were afraid of doing, an entire revolution was sparked. Hundreds of people who felt the same way I did about slavery rose up and began talking about it too. This only made the people in the South more angry, and as a result, the division between the North and the South grew and grew and grew. By this time, the North knew that for change to really happen, someone had to be elected as president who would do anything they had to do to end slavery. So the people elected, what was his name? It's slipping my mind. I'm sure you all know, though. What was it? I remember. Boys and girls, who was the president that ended slavery? Let's say it together. Abraham Lincoln. Because my book sparked so much controversy, many people have said that it was one of the leading causes of the Civil War. It's even alleged that Abraham Lincoln once said to me at a party, "So you're the little woman who wrote the book that made this great war." However, for legal reasons, I must say, it has never been officially confirmed that Abraham said that. While I did write a story that people were able to connect with, I would never have been given a story to tell without listening to those who others ignored, hearing their stories about living through slavery, and giving them a voice. Always remember, I may have written Uncle Tom's Cabin, but they were the ones who were so very brave and told me their stories. That's all I have for today, children. I appreciate you for taking time to hear my story and how I contributed to the start of the Civil War. Until next time, salutations.